Here we are. We're recording. Hi, everyone. This is Dee. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining me. This is your weekly astrology report. We are looking at the 25th of September, which is today, and going through the week up until the next full moon, which is on October 1st, 2020. And we'll kind of go over the weekend in more specific detail and then talk about the major themes. Um, there is a lot of turmoil, a lot of seriousness. There's a lot of noise outside right now. I need to really leave my window open because otherwise it's stifling where I'm at. But so residual noise, I hope it's not a problem. Um, the full moon is going to be Sun Libra, Moon Aries, pretty much conjunct with Chiron. So there's some turmoil that is still unfolding and is really going to start kicking off today with the moon conjunct all of the Capricorn stuff. It's very serious. It's very connected to the aspects that are where we find institutional power and security, right? Cancer in the fourth house is about us feeling personally powerful, emotionally secure, but the institutional matrix of reality is the 10th house in Capricorn. And as that is being dismantled by Pluto, and the reality of that being very unavoidable with Saturn there is so much going on with the moon here today. It's making it very personal. It's making it very feeling oriented and emotionally connected. So there is such a high potential for people to just really lose their heads right now because they're so directly linking emotionally and intuitively, maybe without and subconsciously without even realizing it in some cases, to everything that is like being falling away and being restructured. Um, which is neither good or bad. It just is the cycle right now. And that is part of the cycle, the larger cycle, the ending of a huge age. So we're going to go through the weekend a little bit more specifically and then talk about how, the rest of the week leading up to the full moon. Because what is a full moon but a time to have what is often emotionally and subconsciously hidden from us reflected back to us by the light of the sun. And the degree that the full moon will be in Libra really suggests that there's going to be a lot of turbulence coming into that moment. And then we will have the ability to practice having poise and balance after coming out of a situation that may have been very scary and jarred us. 10 degrees of Libra, it's like a balance moment after a lot of readjustment, because that is part of the dynamic process of balancing the scales. It's not a static thing. It's something you have to engage in consistently because it's dynamic. So the full moon on the first is going to give us a chance to see the sun in itself is going to be this teacher type of figure. It's really going to illuminate in us what this opportunity to give new symbolic meaning to things that we associated with differently in the past. And as we move through this time right now, especially since the new moon, but especially right now since that first quarter square, and even today with just the moon in Capricorn, we are going to finish out the rest of the zodiac with the moon and come into Aries and finally and get to see where we can make some changes within us, what needs to fall away, what symbols and images don't work for us anymore, and really decide if it's kind of our last, it feels like one of our last chances to make revisions before things really get set in motion for how our movement into the Aquarian age. It's like once the full moon comes and goes, like it's going to be a lot harder to make those revisions. And at that point, I doubt you even think you have to make any. So there'll be some turmoil though leading up to it, which will give us a chance to give new meaning to things that maybe had a different meaning before all of the turmoil. So leading up to that, we have the today, like I said, the moon is squaring very serious with the Capricorn, squaring Mars, also going to be squaring Mercury in the late stages of Libra. So what's going to happen this week? The big ones. Okay. The big ones are that Mercury is going to go into Scorpio. Saturn is going to station direct. Mars retrograde in Aries is going to trine a Venus in Leo, which could be explosive. And then the sun is going to oppose Chiron, and this is where within a day or two, the new moon is going to be. Actually, the day that the debates are scheduled is the 29th, and that is the day that the sun, 8 degrees Libra, is in opposition to Chiron retrograde in Aries, 8 degrees Aries. So, and then Saturn is also going to be in square exactly to Mars retrograde, and Saturn will already be going, head station direct at this point. So it's even, now Saturn is stopped and ready to move forward, and then it's really unavoidable. And then so to have Saturn retrograde square there, this is incredible frustration. We might not even see a debate. That's very possible, especially with the sun opposed Chiron. Like, are we justice and fairness and faith in the process, or are we going to fall back into our victimhood and that wound that is so deep within the self that we can't even really acknowledge there's a wound, really, unless we really look and go in. So who knows what's going to happen, but those are the big transits that are happening. Lots of frustration and a lot of opportunity to really see where we sit. And then, like I said, Venus is going to trine Mars retrograde, and that could be very potentially explosive. And then it ends with the full moon. So we have the moon's going to be moving into Aquarius tomorrow, actually very late tonight, early in the morning tomorrow. So then, and we'll also be trine the sun in Libra. So there'll be this moment of like a little bit of emotional detachment. We're kind of needed after the time with the moon in Capricorn, making all of these really challenging connections to just about everything. Like, we're connecting emotionally to every single facet and feeling either the connection or the conflict really directly right now. And then when we get to Aquarius, we're going to kind of need an emotional break. We kind of want to separate ourselves a little bit from how we feel and just experience the situation in just a collective sense, or just a little bit detached, a little bit aloof to the situation, almost a futility to things. So why get invested emotionally? But it will be trine to the sun, which is this campfire that it'll be this moment where we could actually potentially really all gather around the fire together and like have a real communion. It could happen. There's potential for it tomorrow, especially after today, right? So you also can see now that Venus in Leo is coming into a trine with the South Node and sextile the North Node. Venus in getting into late Leo is getting into serious diva role, right? She's very confident. She's very sure of herself. She's very expressive, and she's definitely in this queen role right now, which is neither good nor bad, right? It's just definitely it's about what we value and about what feels good to us. That's what Venus, how she gauges things, what's valuable to her, what feels good to her, what looks good to her, what's balanced and harmonious. And so when we're talking about late Leo, it's very sovereign and very, very royal, and she's very confident and fully expressing herself with what she values. So you can really feel that, like, everybody is kind of really engaged very directly in some way about expressing themselves. And there's a very strong connection to the South Node, which is where we've been. We've already been these strong collective belief systems. That's what creates governments and corporations and all the Capricorn stuff. We've already done that. And it's not to say we won't come back there, but our collective soul destiny is pointing us towards Gemini. And so we can really take this confidence and expressiveness and this sovereignness and apply it to the North Node to help us in this moment. And 24 degrees of Gemini is the children skating on the ice, right? Like the use of inhibiting circumstances for the development of character and a transcendent approach to the environment. What's 24? Did we already look up 24 degrees Leo? I don't know if we have. I've done a couple takes here. Yeah, 24 degrees Leo, totally concentrated upon spiritual attainment. A man is sitting in a state of complete neglect of bodily appearance. It's like the sadhu, right? The sadhu has just been sitting in the cave in meditation forever, and is just everything is grown, and it's about interior focalization. So we get so fixated now on expressing not just ourself anymore. We're expressing the divine is coming through us. That is when we get into late Leo. That is the recognition that it's not just about us, that we can bring spirit, we can bring divinity through us in our self-expression. And this is where it gets really powerful. And so if we can pull that in as a value to us, that can really activate this North Node that is saying we need to learn to embrace the opposite characteristics, the inhibitions or the inhibiting characteristics that we see, and use that to develop our character, right? That is really where this is really where the work could go. And this is over the weekend with this moon in Aquarius. So we can kind of lift out of things a little bit, and get into the realm of the mind to see what the potential is, and not get necessarily hyper focused on creating out of a collective belief system, because that's a big part of what needs to change. That's why the South Node here represents, is that in order to create something new, we have to actually like create new belief systems. And this is really, this is going to be hard. So that's why we need to start over here with Gemini. So the weekend can be a real opportunity considering what today seems like it's representing. Now we're on to the 27th, right? On Sunday, the moon is still going to be in Aquarius, and this is when Mercury transits ingresses into Scorpio, right? Now this is where Mercury is going to go retrograde, is going to come back to the 26th, or 26, 27 degrees Libra, conjunct Arcturus, is going to come back to that point and station direct on November 3rd. Okay, so this is also where the new moon on the 16th is going to be, but we'll talk about that later. This came up in the video that I will link at the end of this video about the autumn equinox, and all of this stuff is in there about what to expect through the rest of the season, especially with the election and the birth of the Aquarian age. So Sunday, the moon is moving still through Aquarius, but Mercury now has moved into Scorpio. So now we start to do the dive down and into, and it's going to be communication is going to start going into the depths, the information. We've touched the sky mentally. We've connected to something beyond just this. And now it's time to descend right into the depths in order to get that level of information, which is really where belief systems become, they develop out of going deep within. So that process begins on Sunday. We still have the moon in Aquarius, and Venus is sextiling the North Node, right? And so moving into Monday is when the moon moves into Pisces, and this is familiar territory. That means the moon is also going to conjunct Neptune, is going to trine Mercury in Scorpio as well. And this is when Venus trines Mars retrograde in Aries. And this is, wow, this is going to be after the heavy storm. This is where Venus is going to be. After the heavy storm, a rainbow linking above and below the covenant with one's divine nature is a promise of immortality. It's almost just like, just know that as long as you are still fulfilling your sacred contract, whatever that is, and that comes through you as a result of you expressing your full self, not holding back, total heart opening, right? If you let the energy rise and come up and out, and you're expressing not just you start channeling through, this is very much supporting Mars in retrograde that really wants to develop something new. It wants to use the imagination to develop something new, right? But it's too much. A man possessed of more gifts than he can hold, obsessed by potentiality, right? this could go a couple of ways. It depends on how sure of yourself you really feel. With Mars in retrograde, it is not best to act on stuff unless you are acting on an inner landscape, okay? So, but this is showing that I think that this trine on Monday is going to be a reminder and a really strong tether or anchor into the fact that if you are following your sacred contract, whatever that is for you, you will be able to master and hold the gifts that you are given when it is time and Mars is moving forward. Okay. But for now, it is not time to use them. I don't know how else to put it, but it is time to kind of bask in the the um, the rainbow after the storm, right? It's not time to act necessarily on all of these things, but it is time to bask in that moment on Monday. And that is a beautiful moment. And it's very much, you know, you have these two polar opposites of each other, Venus and Mars, in a very supportive connection. So they are supporting each other. Absolutely. And Mars is saying, like, I got all the goods. Like, I have so much potency right now. It's not, I can't, it's not the right time for me to use it. And so he's like, I got you, boo. I got you. And she can be like, yes, I can just be in this feeling of trusting and having faith in the covenant because it is the time after the storm. Okay. So this is Monday. So what's coming up? And then Saturn will station direct on this day as well. So that's also going to put into motion some aspects of reality that will be unescapable, right? That things will be cemented into place as Saturn now moves through and eventually moves into Aquarius around the solstice time. So when we move through this week, like I said, Mercury is in Scorpio. Now, on the 29th, when the debates are scheduled, that is when the sun is going to oppose Chiron and Mars is going to square Saturn. So this is going to be even more frustrating and is a real big test of are we going to come together or are we going to keep letting these wounds of victimhood fester, because this is the real question. And it's not to say that there's nothing to work on here. It's just that we have to find the balance point. It's not all kumbaya, which is exactly where this degree is, but it's all, you can't just like stay festering in this wound of victimhood, because at the end of the day, we all have to take responsibility for our spiritual progression in our lives fully. So, I mean, especially with retrograde, this is just, God, tantruming all day and feeling like a victim and not be, and like from a deep place. And it's a real experience. That's the thing. It's very real and it's visceral and it goes down to the core of who we each are. That's why it's so difficult. And with retrograde, it's even worse, right? And so the sun is going to be like, is going to provide this kumbaya moment to kind of pull us out of that. But you don't want to like get over there into the, you know, the Libra land where it's just like, it's just going to be great. You'll see. Right? It's just an idea at that point of the balance. But we need this idea. So this is going to be on the 29th, and Mars is going to come into the square to Saturn, now direct. Wow, that is going to be a big roadblock. So massive, okay? And this is the day the debate is scheduled. So we'll see what happens that day. That's on the 29th. So we're moving into the 30th. Is the moon is now in Pisces, has already crossed Neptune, so that's going to be very inspirational and a lot of dream state connections and the empath, you know, like what you feel is what everybody else feels. So be mindful of that as we go through this time, and it'll just be a moment. So it's not a terrible thing. Maybe you just do need to be connected to what everybody else is feeling so you can have some empathy, right? That's okay. But you also don't want to get lost in everybody else's feelings, because that's when you become a victim, right? Pisces is the ultimate martyr, right? That is, Jesus was the archetype of the Piscean age, you know, it's like we're all one and the same emotionally. So you just meld into everything, which means there are no boundaries here. So just keep that in mind as we're moving through here. So, but what else is happening is in the late Pisces is going to have favorable connections to Capricorn, is going to square the nodes eventually. And we have, and then quincunxing Venus, which is getting very close to Virgo at this point. So this is the 30th, and the moon will move into Aries, and then we'll come into the full moon conjunct with Chiron. Okay, so the moon is going to give us a chance to see the wounds, see the wounded healer archetype, connect to where we fit on the spectrum of victim savior aspect, deep down into the core of who we are. The moon's going to make it really personal, really palpable in our feelings. Okay, and in the gift of this full moon is that the sun is going to be at this point that is illuminating all of the turbulence we've gone through, and now we have this moment to be poised and balanced after that. And it's a canoe in calm water after going through the rapids, right? The calm water, the calm emotion, right? We're able to come through it and have some balance and some stillness in order to deal, you know, in order to process everything that happened. And at the same time, having this moment of stillness and balance, a balance point will allow us to see what parts of ourselves in this whole victim narrative that we can let go of and give new symbolic meaning to, so that we can heal and actually move on instead of continuing to rip this Band-Aid off and scratch the scab open and just like, you know, cover it in shit. Because that seems to be like what we need to do in order to like figure out that it's even a wound. Like we've just kind of collectively are not even acknowledging that there's a wound there. It's like, I'm fine. It's like, no, we're not fine. So this full moon is going to show us like where we have not been fine, and also very directly and very brightly what needs to go and what needs new symbolic language or meaning in order to move on. Okay, this is an incredible week. I can't even believe how incredible it is. So buckle up, I guess, and be ready to you know, have your head turned in some way, shape, or form. But it will be some real moments of beauty and coming together, and there will be some kumbaya moments, and I think they're going to be very sweet. I mean, and I think they're going to be people really seeing the value of each other very strongly, and in the midst of all of it, all of the, you know, the matrix falling away and all of that stuff. So I hope you found this astrology report helpful. You can always refer back to it as the week is unfolding. Of course, the dailies are happening on Facebook every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's much more of a connection of the astrology and the intuitive read for that day. And it's one full transmission. But this gives a really good look at how this is all going to play out over the week. So have a good weekend. Take some time to really like maybe detach yourself emotionally from everything that's happening and not, you know, really embrace that mood in Aquarius. I think that'll be a really helpful tactic right now. And yeah, take care of yourselves. Everything you need is in the description box below. If you're interested in booking a reading, go to catalystenergies.net. The services tab is there. You can see everything that I offer, and then reach out and we'll get it going. And I think that's everything that I need to share with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next video. I'm going to stop the share. Bye.